Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm Rob. Let's wrap up this week with some exciting news.
Oh, well, not only news, but scouting.
Oh, yes.
Scouting news?
That's scouting news. That is news.
Start spreading the news.
Rumor has it.
No more rumors. We're into scouting, damn it.
Scouting's all rumors, let's be honest here.
Scout's honor.
Nope.
Oh, I have no honor. But yeah, guys, we're gonna break down a couple more wide receivers for you guys. Listen, there's always a lot of wide receivers we want to talk about. To be honest, again, we've said it last time. I'll say it again. This is not the best wide receiver group, it's probably one of the worst ones in a long time, to be very frank with y'all. But there's still some names, some mid-round type of guys we haven't talked about, want to talk about. We're also gonna lump in here the centers. Because the centers, there's only a few centers really worth of talking about there. To be honest, it's not a big group either. I hate to kind of be like the quintessential Debbie Downer here right off the bat here, but we are finishing up the wide receivers that aren't the best, and we are also going to talk about I can't even talk
the center position, which is not the best in this draft.
Centers, which are not the best, but listen, there's still players. It's not like there's no centers whatsoever. And let's be honest, we might be looking for a guy to be a good backup center that might, go ahead and push JMS a little bit there. And we're going to need some wide receivers because you cannot function with just three. That's basically what we got right now. We got, Wan'Dale Robinson and Slayton to go with Malik Neighbors and Hyatt, who's maybe going to get one or two catches this season the way he's going. And
which is like 1.5. So
a bunch of special teamers. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see us get a mid-round wide receiver. So,
Giants are pretty solid taking at least one receiver.
Oh, yeah. Now, before we begin, we always like to go ahead and give a little hello to people in the audio podcast world here that are tuning in because I feel bad. I feel like they're kind of left out of some of the conversations because can't do a live audio podcast here. It'd be kind of cool feature if we could, though. But we do have an option for fan mail on there, and we did get one from a regular listener of ours who we don't know his name, but he'll know who he is because he's the one who wrote us. So, but he does write on a pretty regular basis. I know he's from the Denver area, which is kind of cool. It's kind of interesting to think about. People are listening and are watching in completely different parts of the country, hours and hours and hours away. But he said he's a fan and a fellow goofball. So anyway, the purpose of this email, he said, was a fan of Talking Giants and Bobby Skinner. I searched for the new podcast and Apple. Doesn't appear to be posted. Pause it for a second. Bobby Skinner has said he's still waiting. Just for those that may not know in podcast, stuff, you put up your show, and then it takes a little bit of time for them to approve it sometimes. We did our very first episode, actually, was just who the hell are these two goofballs? And it was just me and Rob talking about random Giants things. Literally, we did that just to put up an episode. So by the time we did the preseason ones, that's when we're planning on really starting the show. We had something to get us onto the directories and all. So, it just takes a little time there. I know he's in the work in that. Anyway, he says, all that comes up Bobby Skinner's exit show of Talking Giants and haven't decided yet, but will likely, at your guys' recommendation, not listen to that podcast anymore. I am also going to unsubscribe anyway and voice my displeasure with a 1-star review of that show and their decision. I, too, do think the parent company made a big mistake. So, again, appreciate it for listening in. Again, I want to give kudos to the people that watch on the listen, I should say, on the audio stuff, because I just feel bad that we never really get a chance to, converse with them like we do all the people that watch the video stuff on a regular basis there. We've had a couple people chime in, a couple people pop in occasionally on the video stuff that, are regular subscribers, as they say, on the audio stuff there. So, like I said, I just feel bad. So I want to go ahead and say thank you to the audio people that are also involved and still part of the Goofball family here. So,
Yeah, mucho gracias.
exactly. So, all right, let's get out of the sappy stuff and into the scouting stuff. Okay, so like I said, we got a couple of wide receivers here, and some interesting wide receivers at that. So, first up, we have Elic Ayomanor, out of Stanford, 6'2", 210 pounds, 21 years old, from Medicine Hat, Alberta. And yes, Medicine Hat is the name of the town in Alberta. I was like flabbergasted by that. First off,
Yeah.
that's a weird name for a town. I'm kind of, I almost wanted to go down the rabbit hole of like, how did Medicine Hat in Alberta, Canada get its name?
It's like you'd have to assume a silly backstory, like a bunch of doctors and nurses just settled this colony, and all they wore was crosses on their head.
There's twat. What?
The nurse's
my
cross,
God.
if you will.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a little crazy to me, and I was just I literally I just pulled up the page on Wikipedia now, actually, just to even see. So, anyway, it's apparently a English interpretation of a Blackfoot word for the eagle tail feather headdress worn by medicine men. I'm not sure how that became the name of the town, but that's where this apparently came from. So, anyway, get out of that rabbit hole here. He did move out of Massachusetts as a kid, went to high school in Deerfield, Massachusetts. In 22, he did not play because of an injury. In 2023, though, is when he came on the scene. Like, legit, you don't see a lot of players like come on and do 1,000-yard seasons for their first time actually playing. Well, he did. 1,013 yards, so not by much, but did hit 1,000. 6 touchdowns. Was the John Cornish Trophy Award winner. Now that goes to the best Canadian player.
It just sounds Canadian.
It does. And listen, Theo Johnson, Giants own Theo Johnson, Canadian as well. So, it's not like there was no Canadian players in the NCAA. I mean, there's definitely plenty of players from there. This past season, 12 games, 63 catches, 831 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Second team All ACC, a 74.1 PFF grade. Now, what's interesting about his stats is, again, keep in mind that first season was his first season. There was no tape on him. What the big difference in his numbers was his yards per catch. It fell from 16.3 to 13.2. He actually had one more catch in 24 than he had in 23. So that's what the drop-off was in the yards. Because at first you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, well, hold on a second here. That's a decent production drop there. What happened here? But that's what it was. It was the catches were still there. It's just a little bit shorter on the catches. Let's be honest, 16.3 yards per catch is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, that's not usually sustainable. He also set a Stanford record, 294 yards against Colorado in 23. Now, I'm wondering who might be covering him in Colorado. Could it be a guy that people seem to think is an elite corner that I keep on saying is not? Just saying. Oh, by the way, he also had like a 3-touchdown performance against Colorado this year, including catching a contested touchdown to win the game against Travis Hunter. Just saying. And I said, I'm not even trying to bash Travis Hunter when I say this. It's because people love the way he plays. So if you love the way he plays, you should love this receiver who outplayed him twice. Like, point blank. Yeah. So good strength. He's great at contested catches. Plays faster than he actually is when he's timed. So in other words, he's got the play speed, not necessarily the track speed, if that makes sense there.
Yeah.
His route tree does need to develop more. Drops have been an issue. I will say, I think a third year in college, what I would like to see to kind of fine tune some of this stuff here, but that's not what he's deciding to do. I think he's going to be a 3rd-round pick. I think this guy has the potential to develop into a starting wide receiver, but I think he's going to need a little bit of developing time where you probably want a 3rd, 4th receiver to start off. But I think he has the potential to turn into a decent receiver in this league if you're patient and have the right person to teach him a little better.
Yeah, you have to wonder because just like you said, that his average yards per catch was 60.3 to go down to 13.2, which is insane. Both is really good. Like
Yeah.
that's not
And again, not an uber speedy guy. This is not the guy who's doing like 4.3 40 times,
So like you have to wonder, like he's trying to go in early into this draft to capitalize on what he's already done, not necessarily what he could do.
Yeah.
That's something you have to think about because, like, all right, you went from a 60.3 to a 13.2, which 13.2 per catch is still really good.
Yep.
But riding on the hype, because what if he goes to college 1 more year and goes down to like a 15, down to like a 5.7? Where's he drafted then?
Yeah. He's an interesting.
Yes, I was about to say he's
prospect.
an interesting pick
Because it's like I can see the potential, but I can't sit there. I can see him. This is the crazy. He's one of those guys that's like, I don't want to say boom or bust, but it's almost like I can't quite grasp where I think he's going to be. I think he could develop into a starter. I think he could be a long-term backup, or he could be a guy that in a couple of years is out of the league. And none of that would surprise me. And you guys know that I will tell you point blank if that's where I'm at. But usually I'm like pretty much like, boom, this is where I think this guy is. This guy's a little bit of a more, of a quandary, to use another Scrabble word.
quagmire, if you will.
Yeah, giggity. But
you. But like you're going there, like I wasn't going to say out of the league, but like a special teamer, like he's a guy that Yeah,
I mean, I can see it, and I can not see it. I mean, he's got decent size. He has some abilities, probably on a coverage team there. But like I said, I think the goal with him is, like I said, to develop him into being like a wide receiver too. And I think I could also see whereas a team that needs a wide receiver too kind of shoves him into that role there, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that to him. And I want somebody to get him that's not going to do that to him. And it's going to give him a chance to develop a little more and have a good wide receivers coach or have a good veteran wide receiver that's going to put some time in with him because he does need some work.
Yeah.
The big thing for me is the hands thing. He's got to fix the drops. That's like one of the biggest things. When you're dropping the ball, guess what the first thing you need to do as a wide receiver is receive.
Yeah.
You can't catch the ball.
You are the catcher of the team. You need to catch.
Yeah.
Like that's plain and simple.
Exactly. But again,
as a receiver, you need to receive. But yeah, he needs to benefit from a team that, like you said, they have a veteran wide receiver.
Yep.
They already have the number 2 that might be the next up, but the veteran wide receiver, their contract might be coming to an end in the next year or 2.
Yeah.
You pick him up. He's your wide 3, possibly 4, depending on your scenario, how it works out. Next year, he comes out to be your wide 2.
Yep. And like I said, that's where you got to put him at there. So, all right. Real quick, before we get to the next guy, I say a little hi to Anthony, who says, you guys are doing a hell of a job. Appreciate it, man. I haven't seen you in a while, too, bad. We got to catch up next time I see you guys doing a show, too. So let's get into the next guy here, guys, because here's like there's every draft, I feel like there's guys that have a devoted fan base. That kind of like there's a group of people that kind of fanboy over certain players. And not the big name players, but there's like, I feel like people want to be like, oh, I knew that kid was going to be big right off the bat kind of scenario. And then all of a sudden, like a couple people say it, and then all of a sudden it becomes a group and it snowballs into like, this is the sleeper of the draft. This guy falls into that category. 100% falls in that category. Tez Johnson out of Oregon. And listen, there's a lot to like on film, guys. There's a lot to like on film. Here's the biggest issue I have with him.
I weighed him when I was in the 6th grade. That's the issue.
That's the issue. He is, I'm telling you, he's this year's Tank Dell. 5'10", 165 pounds.
Well, Tank Dell might be a high. Well, I want to take away from
Tank Dell's 165 pounds.
Yeah, but Tank Dell also did put up some good numbers this year when he was healthy.
But he can't stay healthy because of the size. And that's the issue I have with him. So Tank Dell is 5'8", 165 pounds. So technically he's a little bit lankier. I don't want to say bigger, but I'm saying lankier because he's 2 inches taller. but he's the same weight.
Tank is more dense, if you will.
Yeah, talk about truth in advertising laws being thrown to the wind there with it. He's but anyway, Tez is 22 years old from Birmingham, Alabama. Started off at Troy. And like I said, guy's got a lot of talent. You see it on the football field, that's for sure. Just 211 yards his first season in 2020. 735 yards and 4 touchdowns in 21. 863 yards and 4 touchdowns in 22. Then he goes over to Oregon. Some may call it Oregon. 23, 1,182 yards and 10 touchdowns. This past season, 12 games, 83 catches, 898 yards, 10 touchdowns, at 83.1 PFF rating. Oh, and by the way, he's also got experience returning kicks, I should say punts specifically, at Oregon. He's electric. He's fast. He's twitchy. He changes directions really, really fast. He's really good at getting yak yards on catches too as well. This kid has the potential to be a fun weapon that you put in the slot specifically. Like, I don't think he could play on the outside because of his size, but I think in the slot he has the potential, especially some kind of gadget plays like that. He's willing to block, but let's be honest.
You're not blocking much.
65 pounds. Good luck.
It's like blocking a tank with a.
Yeah. He's literally giving up 40 yards on corners, let alone what he's giving up to everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, good luck. Good luck with that one. He's obviously not very strong. He's obviously got a small catch radius. He's got speed, but he's not a deep threat guy. Like, that's not where he's at. But again, he's a smart football player. He runs good routes. I think he's going to go 3rd, 4th round. And I think somebody's going to have to figure out, a decent way of using him. Where, you have an idea of like, okay, this is what he can do. This is what he can't do. I'm not going to try to put a square peg in a round hole. Like, he needs a smart offensive coach that knows what to do with him. Because I do feel like there's a place for him in this league. I don't want to say gadget because you can only do specific things. But I feel like more like a guy who's got specific skills that can be used a few times throughout a game. Like, if you can get him, like, 5, 6, opportunities per game to get him involved, it's worth a 3rd, 4th round pick.
Listen, sometimes that's all you need out of a player. You give him 5 opportunities and he gets 12, 15 yak yards, or just catches per yard. Like, he's doing a good day. He has a good day.
Yeah. Like I said, I there's definitely the potential for him to have a role, but I think definitely the role is where it's got to be for him at that point. So, as Jay says, is that the shirt Rob uses to close the deal with the ladies? Let me be the first to assure you. Yes, it is.
I haven't had to do that in a while, so don't worry.
Meanwhile, I just got the Mickey shirt on because I just don't care.
It's my polo's extra button off today.
Is that like a camouflage polo?
It is. Actually.
Yeah, see? That's why. So that way it's a camouflage polo. So that way the ladies can pretend he's shirtless.
Yeah. Can't see me coming.
All of a sudden we lost 5 subscribers. God damn it.
Womp womp.
Deb says Stephen Baker was 160 pounds at 5'8". He was a good receiver. Said he used to have to prove he was on the team sometimes to get the facility. I can see that, but the problem also is that he played over 30 years ago. Like, the guys are much bigger than they used to be.
Yeah.
And I just think it's difficult, and it's not impossible. Not impossible. Again, Tank Dell, we gave us an example. He is proving he is a legit NFL player. He just can't stay healthy. And that's why I think that's what you're going to see, that kind of role with him, where he's going to be a guy who's going to have to go ahead and have a specific role in the team. You see him just, a little bit there. As Jay says, we already got a wide receiver with the catch radius of T-Rex, bro. Yeah, basically. And he says, I used to watch Stephen Baker play at Fresno State when I was a kid. He said, no way Baker could play today. He is tiny. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think it works as a full-time receiver. So
no, but if you got like Tank Dell, especially anyone that played fantasy last year, especially if you're playing like one of those weekly leagues, like a DraftKings FanDuel kind of thing, like you picked him up on the right week. Like he was the guy that you got cheap that pretty much won you that, won you the money for that week. So
all right, so we go from Tank. I was saying Tank Dell. I'm gonna get Tank Dell here. We go from Tez Johnson.
You go from the
tiny
Wrangler
guy
to the actual tank.
Yeah, to a guy who is literally, like you said, built like an absolute tank. And Savion Williams, 6'5", 225 pounds, 21 years old, went to high school in Marshall, Texas. He's with TCU. He had just 8 yards in 2020, 71 in 21, 392 yards and 4 touchdowns in 22, 573 yards and 4 touchdowns in 23. 24. Here we go. I'll give you the full tape here, the full rundown. 12 games, 60 catches, 611 yards, 6 touchdowns. Now you're probably looking at that going, too much. 51 rushes, 322 yards, 6 touchdowns. Put them both together, 12 touchdowns overall, guys, and just shy of 1,000 yards. Not too shabby. 78.9 is his PFF score. I feel like this is a scenario where I look at him and you know what I think? I think this would be an interesting fit in San Francisco.
Yeah.
A guy to, and I don't want to say replace because you're not going to replace it with this guy, but at least be a reasonable facsimile role-wise of Deebo Samuel. Obviously, they just lost to the Commanders this offseason. He's got great size. He's great at contested catches. Very athletic. He's hard to get down. He's that kind of guy. Once you get him driving, it's almost like having a tight end. That's how big he is. He does have bad hair. That's one thing they got to work on. He does also it's weird. You watch the tape, and sometimes he almost seems to jump for the ball when he doesn't have to. Like the ball be like perfectly thrown. He's like, whoop, for no apparent reason. And I don't know if that's him just having trouble tracking the ball or losing in the sun sometimes, and maybe that's what it is. There's always those kind of possibilities. But it was just a really weird thing to see. The other thing that I thought was disappointing is he's not really a great blocker, which is odd when you look at his size. I mean, this kid's built like DK Metcalf almost. Like
DK is a little bigger, but yeah.
Yeah, he's a little. DK is 6'4", 235. So you're talking 10 pounds lighter, 1 inch taller. So again, it's just a little weird to see him having some trouble as a blocker. He is extremely raw, though. He is a guy that I feel like, again, you get a team like San Francisco to pick him up. I really just feel like this is a kid that could potentially grow into a good role. But you're going to have to be, again, it's another guy, because, again, we're talking about guys that aren't first round, second round talents. This is a guy you're going to have to be patient with. And like I said, I just think that if anybody can use him properly for what he does, it's going to be San Francisco. And I really do hope for his sake that's where he goes, because that'd be an awesome fit for him to go there, try to be the next Deebo Samuel. Like I said, they're going to have to be a little patient with him, but they don't know how to use him. They've already used somebody just like that.
I think high success rate too.
Yeah, I think he's going to go third round, and I think the size is what's going to push him there. Let's be honest, he's not a third round talent as far as what he's done in the field. He is not. He's a day 3 talent based on what you've seen so far in the field. But the size combined with that talent is going to push him to third round, probably.
That's fair to say.
Yeah. That's why I said it.
Yeah.
I try to be fair.
Not always you are, but you try.
By the way, Benji, I'll see you in the comments here listing some wide receivers. So we did a bunch of wide receivers there on Monday. So a lot of the ones you're mentioning, they were on Monday's episode. So when we're done here, go back and you'll see it there. Like I said, we did 10 wide receivers. Well, I did 10 wide receivers. Rob wasn't able to make it that one there, but I did 10 wide receivers on Monday. So that will definitely be in there. We got another intriguing wide receiver. I feel like, again, this is not a good, strong wide receiver draft class. There's some players, though, you go, I could see the potential here. There's this one or two things that's really lacking, but I see a whole bunch of things over here I like. This guy is the guy who specifically fits into that kind of category. Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. 5'10", 198 pounds, 22 years old, from Coconut Creek, Florida. 2020, just 12 yards. 21, 373 yards, 2 touchdowns. 22, 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now he takes off. 23, 1,092 yards and 6 touchdowns. First team All ACC. This past season, 12 games, 60 catches, 1,127 yards, 11 touchdowns, 81.8 PFF grade, consensus All-American, and first team All ACC. He's Miami's all-time career leader in receiving yards, catches, touchdown receptions. He's the only Miami wide receiver ever to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. It's a lot of good there. A lot of good. Here's the bad. He didn't run a 40 at the combine. There was already whispers at the combine that he just didn't seem to have the same kind of speed as everybody else that was there. You know, it's one of the things that people like to see at the combine is you see a whole bunch of receivers or whatever group you're looking at once, and you kind of can compare directly to them because you can see them all in that hour, you know, against each other at the same exact environment. You could tell he was kind of a tick off. So Miami's pro day, he did run a 40. 4.86. That is something I could probably run.
I was about to say there's linebackers.
I really can't run that. I'm going to do one better. You say linebackers? So we're going to talk in a little bit here on the episode about centers. Jared Wilson, spoiler alert, our top center. He ran a 4.84 at the combine. The center ran a faster 40 time than the wide receiver.
Yeah.
That is really, really bad. Now, you're probably saying, what the hell have we been talking about this guy for? Again, back-to-back 1,000-yard season, guys. He is a player that when you watch him on the field, point blank, there is extreme level of talent that just pops everywhere. He is, we talked about it before, like you talk about day 3 guys usually fall into one of two categories. We always say it this way. Great physical players who are just extremely raw, extremely intelligent players that lack some of the physical gifts. Usually it's one of those two. He falls into that second one. Extremely intelligent player that just happens to lack some of the gifts. But he's so intelligent and so good at what he does that he's not going to be a day 3 pick probably. I think he's also going to go in round 3. There's a chance he drops to round 4 because of the speed and becomes a day 3 after all. But I think someone's going to pick him up in round 3 personally. He's a great route runner, probably the best route runner in the entire draft. That's how good he is at that. And while he doesn't have long speed, as you saw in that 40 time, he does have a quick area burst. He catches well in traffic. Again, high football IQ. This guy is going to be a slot receiver for somebody because of his size. Again, 5'10", 198 pounds. This is not a big player here. That's a combination that most NFL teams don't like. Small guy with bad speed. This is the I before E except after C, guys. I'm telling you right now, he's going to have a career. And whoever takes him, if this kid drops into a day 3 pick, whoever takes him is going to get a hell of a pick. I don't think he'll ever develop into a guy that is 1,000, 1,200 kind of yard kind of guy in the NFL. I do not. But I think he's the guy who consistently could be a nice depth piece, going to get about 500 yards a season. And it's because he's smart, because he's savvy. Yeah. You got to understand that he is slow. He is small. He's got height issues. He's going to be overpowered at times, especially in press man type of situations. He's not going to be the best blocker in the world. He doesn't have the best catch radius. Like, these are all things because of his size. But he's a guy who's going to find a way to get open. He's going to go ahead and scheme himself open with the way he runs his routes. He's going to use a little bit of shiftiness to get a little bit of separation that way. I'm telling you right now, this is that scrappy kid that just finds a way to get it done.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not very optimistic on a lot of things. I'm kind of the pessimistic one of the two of us. This is a kid I'm optimistic on. Again, not crazy optimistic, but he's going to be somebody I think is going to be a nice depth piece for somebody. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's even better than that. Who knows? People probably was thought of the same way in Miami when he first got there, and he proved his way. That it wasn't like he became slow overnight.
Yeah.
All righty. We got one more wide receiver, you guys. One more wide receiver. Isaiah Bond.
Isaiah Bond.
Which, by the way, his number is 7, not 007. It's just funny. But it is there. Went to Texas, 5'11", 180 pounds, 21 years old, from Buford, Georgia. By the way, we're talking about 2 players from Buford, Georgia today, which is, I think, a little bit odd, and probably the first time we've really talked with 2 people from Buford, Georgia. Not exactly the bustling hub on the map that you would think. I do know the area, though. It's actually right where my family's lake house is, right outside of there. So I do know the area pretty well. Nice little area. So he started off in Alabama.
Alabama.
22, 220 yards and a touchdown. 23, 668 yards and 4 touchdowns. Then he moves over to Texas. So 24, 14 games, 34 catches, 540 yards, 5 touchdowns. Throws in a couple more rushes, 4 rushes for 98 yards and a touchdown. Just a 68.9 PFF grade. This is a guy, though, that I'm telling you. Like, you ever look at this player and you're like, I don't get it. Why does everybody like him so much? That's what Isaiah Bond is for me. Like, there's a lot of people that, quite frankly, there's people that scout for a living. People that, quite frankly, spend more time on it than me and Rob do because they don't have 9 to 5s. That is their 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And they love this kid. And he's going to be a day 2 pick probably because of this kind of stuff. I don't think he's worth the day 2 pick. We'd be very clear on that. I do not think he's worth a day 2 pick. This kid has bust potential if somebody takes him at a day 2 pick. Take him mid-day 3? Okay. I can see that. I can get that. And what I mean by bust is just point blank, not even his fault. He's going to be drafted earlier than he should be. Point blank.
Yeah. He's more like that 4th round kind of guy to me.
4th, 5th? That's what I would think. And to be honest, we only have him on the list, guys, because of the fact that there are people who think he's better than what we think he is. So we just wanted to include him. He is dynamic. He is explosive. He is a good route runner. He does have elite speed, and that's, I think, what really people are big on with him. Like, people just love the speedy guys. That's just what it is at that point there. It's he's a 4.39 was his speed, by the way. Now he said going into the combine that he was going to break Xavier Worthy's record of 4.21. Let's be honest. Talking like 0.18 of a second or 0.18 of a second was all it was difference between him and the record.
Yeah.
So I do think that he's somebody who got that speed, and speed tends to attract people's attention.
Yeah, because he's definitely going to be like that alone is going to get him like a lot of looks.
Yeah, and Anthony already beat me to the punch here. He said, "Yeah, speed is fantastic. Look at our speedy guy named Hyatt. So fast I didn't even see him play this year." Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fall for a speed guy because you know what? If speed was that big of a thing in the the game of football, as some people think it is, this kid would have had better numbers than 540 yards.
Well, speed is a big thing, but speed
not
alone,
that big.
But speed alone doesn't get you where you got to go. There's other things you need.
I'm telling you right now, I would take a kid like Restrepo that's a scrappy, smart player and slow as anything. I'm going to try to put it nicely.
Yeah,
Then a kid like Bond, who is extremely fast, but doesn't have the same football IQ, doesn't have the same hands because he does have bad hands.
Exactly. Because what's like you're talking about, a small, fast guy who's 180 pounds, and you're talking about Restrepo, who's 225? We just said 45-pound difference.
No, 198.
Even still, 18 pounds. 18 pounds. Is
18 pounds is decent. It's, 1 inch difference in the height, and that's it. But 18 pounds are different. So, but like I said, Bond's got bad hands. He does have a small catch radius. Again, he's 5'11", 180 pounds. He's not a big guy. He's a bad run blocker, not just like bad, but almost like doesn't want to do it because he recognizes he's not good at it or ever going to be because of his size, probably. He also has a lot of trouble with physical corners. Now, here's the difference of why I'm saying I prefer a scrappy guy over a speed guy. This scrappy guy, whether you're fast or whether you're physical, because that's what most corners kind of go into, the fast or physical. There's some guys who do a combination, but usually that's one of the two is your main thing. The scrappy guy will get around a physical corner. He will find a way to move, juke just a little bit, run the right route at that point to gain some separation like that. The same can be said with the fast guys as well, because the fast guys may be fast, but if you have better skills in your route running, they're going to have a little more trouble overcoming that.
Yeah.
The speed guy, he just counts on beating people out speed-wise and has no plan for physical corners whatsoever. That's Hyatt's problem. This guy is a shorter Hyatt.
That's pretty fair to say.
Yeah. So again, someone's going to fall in love with the speed. He's going to go ahead and be a second, a day 2 pick, probably going in the 3rd round. But who knows if somebody falls in love with him, takes me even sooner. But you can't fall for speed. Fall for talent. All righty.
Yeah.
Let's get into our central discussion.
Ooh.
With the centers. After we pay the bills. Oh, snap.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. And of course, as always, you can also go ahead and support the show by doing a super chat on YouTube, stars on Facebook, or the freeway. Just hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share, hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a review on audio podcast there and a 5-star rating. Like I said, it does help us really spread that out big time. Or just, create a mass text message group and just all the Giant fans to send it.
Yeah. Please.
Help. All right, let's get into the centers, guys, here. Again, not a very big group here. We have 5 centers that we're going to go over, and that's it. Now, how we did this, these are guys who really were centers in the last year. So what I mean by that is there are some players that we're not going to talk about that may be able to convert to a center. That happens every year. We're talking about guys who played center this past year specifically. So, first up, Jared Wilson. And listen, I'm telling you guys right now, this kid, I feel like, has some potential to be a good player in this league. And he is the clear-cut number 1 for me. 6'3", 310 pounds, 21 years old, from Clemens, South Carolina. A 79.6 PFF grade in this past season. 2nd team All ACC. Oh, yeah. And it was his first year actually starting.
Yeah.
That's a big part of this. There is room for growth with this kid, and that's what I like about him. Played in 34 games overall in his 4-year career at Georgia, including 12 and 24. And again, only time he was a starter. He also played left guard and right guard when he was still a backup. So I like that. It's got some versatility. Listen, we need an interior offensive lineman, to go ahead and push out guys like Azudu and to go ahead and maybe push JMS even for a starting job. Wilson is that guy. I feel like if we can get him, I think he's going to be like a third, fourth kind of round kind of guy. Again, it's not a great draft for centers, but if we can get him in like the fourth round or even that comp pick we got, I wouldn't be upset with that at all. Like, we need depth in the interior offensive line, guys. He's got a good punch, good body control. He's quick for his size. Like, he's that kind of guy. Again, like we said, he literally beat out Restrepo, the wide receiver, in his 40 time. Again, it's the slowest wide receiver, maybe not the greatest comparison, but it's like I said, he's much more agile than you expect at his size.
Imagine the wall moves towards you.
Now, he does have short arms. That's an issue. He overextends his arms at times. Now, that's something people with shorter arms are a little more prone to do. But for those who aren't aware, and this is going to be the part where you really want to be on the YouTube stuff, not the audio, if you can. I know there's people that like the audio specifically. We want to cater y'all. But so when you push and you punch at that point, you're like this. You want to go up like that. I'm doing bad form, to be honest. You want your elbows much more in. It's just awkward in a chair trying to do it. So, but you want to have it not fully out there because you have a strong base at that point there. When you go like this and you're over and extended, the problem is, let's say you have to repunch, you have to all the way back in to go all the way back out again. It's slow. Whereas instead you keep it short jabs and you're just, almost like it's almost like that monkey with the cymbals. Like, you notice he doesn't go like all the way out because it wouldn't be as entertaining. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, you want to go like that, short burst like that, as opposed to going like that, because you're not going to get as much. You're not going to have as much punch. And so if you can stop it abruptly, you will pop him.
Yeah, the problem with the short arms is like to push the guy further away, you have to extend your arms out. But when you want good form, you want to keep your elbows closer to your body when you're punching than away from your body. So that, not even just saying keep your bodies like pointed in towards your body, but like when you extend, you don't want to extend it too far away from your body because your elbows and your arms it sounds corny, but like it takes some of your body strength to use your arms like that. But once you extend out your arms, you're using pure arm strength. And listen, you can have strong arms, but it's not going to outbeat a body of a 300-pound.
No, but part of this, I feel like, is his lack of experience starting. Again, 1 year starting, and that's it. Again, spend some time as a backup, playing center and guard, both guard positions there. So it's not like he wasn't never on the field, but he doesn't have the same experience as a guy who's been 3 years starting or 2 years starting. Obviously, it's not the same thing. And that's what I like about him is 1 year only starting, and he's the best at his position.
Yeah.
That's something. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not the best center in college football. He's the best center coming into the draft. But still, it still says something after 1 year. And like I said, you should have a chance for growth still with that kind of player. So, like I said, be an intriguing option. Yeah. That's for sure for us. All right. Next up, guys. Another guy that I wouldn't mind us getting either. Jonah Monheim out of USC. Now, there's a certain guy that comes to mind when I look at him. And it's Nick Gates. Nick Gates reminds me a lot of him. So that just tells you what I'm saying. Not a great player, but a guy who can, play a lot of places and not embarrass himself at really any of them. 6'5", 310 pounds, 22 years old, went to high school in Moore Park, California, played 52 games overall in a 5-year career, including the last 12 in 2024 there. 70.9 PFF grade this past year, third team all Big 12. He also, along with playing center this past year, where he was a starting center all year long, like I said, this is just a list of starting centers that we're doing here today. He also, though, previously played left tackle in 23, played right guard and right tackle in 22. He's literally played every single place on the offensive line. I just feel like this is a kid that you put in as a depth piece. Like, I don't think he'll ever develop into a starter, but you put him on a depth piece. And if you're a team that consistently has issues with offensive linemen getting hurt, I wonder who that could be. Maybe the Giants. Here's somebody you can go ahead and play in pretty much anywhere. And he's got experience at every position.
Punch and play.
And doesn't even change how well he plays when he moves around either. Like he's played well at all the positions. So, like I said, I feel like he's somebody that could do, that kind of interesting, like versatile role in the NFL. He does have very good form, good pad level, does well in pass blocking, does well in screens, especially. Can literally, like I said, play anywhere. Does need to add some strength. That's one thing I like to see. Get 310 pounds. He's not exactly a small kid at that point there. In fact, he's the same size as Jared Wilson we talked about a moment ago there. Just doesn't seem to have the same play strength, though, when you see him there. His tape, too, it's good. But what's weird is I don't see dominating play. It's like solid. But you don't see those amazing plays where he just pancakes and kills people like that. You know what I mean? You just don't see it. So I do think that's one thing I look at going, is that an issue then? Is that him just being just good enough to be good at the college level? And if he's not setting himself into that kind of level where, like, I'm dominating the people I'm going against the college, will he have a problem at the next level now? It's a potential.
It's potential, but it also, yeah. I mean, that's also something you're going to expect as soon as he gets, to any NFL team.
Yep.
Right to the weight room, put it on some of that size. And
he's also
natural abilities. He's
also very raw because, again, he played 1 year as center. So if you're drafting him specifically to be a center, he's only played 1 year at the position. He's still got that learning curve. He's probably to be a round 4 guy, I think, is where he's probably going to go. I could see somebody taking him that early specifically because of the versatility. I could also see him dropping a little bit again because that tape is not dominating. But I do think right around that round 4 is where he's probably going to go. As Jay says, when Drew gets bullish on these kids, he sounds like one of those QVC salesmen on at midnight. Do they even have QVC still? Is that still a thing? I don't even know. Is it a thing?
I haven't had cable in 10 years.
So I know because here in the Tampa Bay area, St. Pete has a massive HSN office, and it's closing it down. Like a massive building, like one of those ones you drive by the interstate, and it's got their logo and big old letters there right in the building, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're closing it down. That's how bad they're doing. So that's why I was curious. I don't know.
Interesting.
I haven't watched Shark Tank in a while, but I used to hear about QVC. Boom, 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 boom. Next up, Jake Majors from Texas. 6'3", 315 pounds, 23 years old, from Prosper, Texas. If that doesn't sound like a gold mining town, I don't know what does. I'm just picturing like some old guy in a hat going, I found nuggets. I found nuggets here.
Look what I found on my strain. Let's go.
I'm rich.
My calendar full of gold.
Now, we talked about before about starting experience at the center position. This is probably one of the more experienced centers in this draft. Started 4 of the last 5 years here, 58 games in total, including 16 games in 24. He's a 72.7 PFF grade he got this past year. Really good run blocker. And he also gets close to his blocking assignments. If you watch him, that's one that's interesting I saw. Now, we talked before about the whole not overextending your arms, because you want to do that short burst pops at that point to push him back. That's one thing, and I should say specify that's pass protection, obviously, not run blocking. Run blocking, you're just trying to run with them, basically. But he's like practically standing on people's toes when he's blocking them. And I love that. When you get that kind of thing, just pop, pop, pop. You're doing that pass protection really well at that point. So that's good. He's got that good form like that. Again, when you've been a guy who's been a starter for the last 4 years, these are things you develop. And that's why I say with some of these younger kids that only have a year starting at center, with the last 2 we mentioned, the room for growth is there. He does also have a very high IQ as far as pass blocking. He seems to see stunts coming and stuff like that when you watch the way he moves around and kind of helps direct people. The downfalls of him, he's not very strong. He also has trouble getting the first contact at times, I've noticed. And that's something I don't like, especially in the NFL, because if you get a big old guy, like, and there's a lot of Dexter Lawrences out there, but you get a big old defensive tackle to get his hands on you first, you're going to be in trouble.
So you're about to get manhandled.
Yeah, like you want to be, it's you want to be the first one to get that contact because you control the game from then on out. Then, so it's just something I didn't like, and he's also had trouble holding blocks. If you got a deep gain down the field you're trying to get at that point there, you might need to give him some help. You might need to keep a running back in there. You might need to say, hey, guard needs to pop off here and help him out over here after a couple of seconds, that kind of scenario. Not the best trait, that's for sure, especially in a very pass-heavy offense like most NFL teams are. I do think he'll be a day 3 pick. I think he'll start off as a backup center in this league. I'm not sure if he's ever going to be a starter. I really don't. I think that's probably where his role is just a backup center in this league. And all he has played is center. And that's one thing I always find interesting in these scenarios, because to me, versatility is a key thing for you when you're a day 3 offensive lineman. You can't be on one spot. That's not to say he won't try other spots in the NFL, but all he's been is a center his whole career at Texas. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, day 3 pick, backup center. All righty. Next up, Seth McLaughlin. And Buford, Georgia. This is the other Buford, Georgia guy. 6'4", 305 pounds from Buford, Georgia. Went to Ohio State. Now, this is the first time we come across this, but we always come across this a couple times with some of the later round guys here. Nobody lists his birthday, so we don't know exactly how old he is.
Or apparently showed up to his party.
I'm hoping everybody showed up to his party. I finally a draft day reference on this. 23. I'm guessing about 23 years old, though. He graduated high school in 2020. So you figure 2020. And I'm doing a little math here because I'm 42. I graduated high school 20 years ago, but I also have a later birthday. He's probably around 23 years old. So, but give or take a year, either direction. Who knows? For all I know, he was the kid who got let back a couple of years.
Could be a young
guy. Who knows? Maybe he graduated early. He's really smart. Who knows?
But I was 17 when I graduated high school, so in that case,
I was too. I didn't turn 18 until a couple months later because I'm the August birthday.
Yeah,
so
I was about to say
same as you. Yeah. So anyway, he played his first 4 years in Alabama before transferring to Ohio State. 70.7 PFF grade in 24. He's known for the, let's be generous, say occasional snap issue when at Alabama, including having 3 bad snaps in the 2024 Rose Bowl alone, including the last play of the drive, by the way. We talked before about wide receivers saying the most important thing is catching the damn ball. I think the most important thing for a center is snapping the damn ball.
Literally, that's their job.
Yeah, that's what differs you from a guard. Besides the slight placement on the line, but that's what it is. 47 career games, including 10 this past year. He's, like I said, he's got some decent experience. Went to 2 big schools and succeeded at both. I mean, let's be honest, Ohio State and Alabama are 2 of the biggest schools in all of football there. He's got good size and strength, great with his hands, solid footwork. So, his form is not too bad overall, but his pads do get a little high at times. We talked about it, that punch we talked about before. Again, you want to be the guy that's a little bit lower, especially so you can push on the shoulder pads a little bit there. That was a little weird motion. If somebody had this in quiet, it's like I'm trying to adjust myself. but you want to try to get under those shoulder pads and pop them there specifically. But, when you're a little high, it's harder to do that kind of stuff. You want to get a little lower. You want to be the lower guy. His arms are a little bit short as well. I just can't get past the snap issues. Let's be honest. I can't.
That's
a big issue for me. I think if I look at him, as a guy who I think could play guard, and I can have him as a backup that has a backup interior offensive lineman that can play guard or center, then what the hell? I haven't seen him work out a guard. I don't know if he's even willing to do that per se, but I mean, let's be honest. It's just what you got to do sometimes when you're this kind of pick. He's going to be a day 3 pick. And again, he's got some good things about him on his play. His snap's the biggest issue. So if you can get him as a backup offensive lineman that plays guard, plays center in a pinch, then why not? What the hell? But he's not the guy to be like, oh, God, thank God we got Seth McLaughlin. We're good now.
Like you said, if you got him as a depth piece that could possibly develop to one spot, you teach him how to actually step the ball to the quarterback or, whatever we're going to do. I can get behind that. But, if you're talking about bringing this guy in to be your number 1 starter right away, you're going to have some issues. There's going to be some Fabaruskis going on.
Yes.
And
that's what happened in that game. You saw that if you go back and watch the last play of that Rose Bowl, literally Jalen Milroe running for the ball because it went behind the middle. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's bad. You can't do that.
No.
So I can't be too excited. But if you get him the 5th, 6th round or something like that and just see what you can do with him overall, it's not a bad spot. But if somebody wants to take him 3rd, 4th round, I think you're way too early.
Yeah.
Way too early.
Listen, I would even give him if you take him, he's one of the last ones in the 4th round. All right, he's got really good footwork. And if you think you can move him over to a tackle guard, kind of use him versatile.
Definitely guard. His arms are way too short to be a tackle.
Yeah,
a little bit short for center. That's that is the T-Rex version of a tackle now.
Yeah, so I'm just saying if you think you could switch him over and get some more use out of him, just besides being a backup center, or if you think he's going to be a backup center where he could be a backup in other positions. Yeah, I can see the versatility of him. But if you think he's going to be, your number 1 starter overall, and you got to steal in the draft, you're probably getting bad information.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, one last center, one last time.
It's the final countdown.
Drew Kendall from Boston College. Listen, we know the Giants just love Boston College players. They always have. 6'4", 285 pounds, 23 years old, from Norwell, Massachusetts. Now, what's crazy is one of his linemen on Boston College, his teammates, also from Norwell, Massachusetts. Who would have thought that 40% of their offensive line would be from Norwell, Massachusetts, of all places? Not to be confused with Norwell. He's actually the son of Pete Kendall, former Boston College guard, 1st-round pick of the Seahawks back in '96, who did play until 2008, so had a nice long career. So we got a little bit of a second-gen NFL player here going. 38 games in 4 years, including 13 this past year, 78.8 PFF grade overall. Good speed and athleticism, good pass protection, blocks space well, good snapper. Hello.
My favorite.
Smart, but his size is one of the biggest, is really the thing. Small size, not very strong. And if you watch the film on him and you look at some of the better defensive tackles he faced, he got overpowered point blank because he's just not big enough. 6'4", not a bad height. 285 pounds. You're giving up 20, 30 pounds right off the bat. You're going to have trouble succeeding in that scenario. So there's only 2 ways I'm interested in him. If I think I can get him to add weight, which, by the way, he's added 40 pounds since he started at Boston College. So he's already shown that he can add weight. But you don't know if he's thinking he's maxed out his weight. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, 40 pounds is a lot of weight. And you're going to go to NFL and you want him to put on a 50?
Yeah, well, not 50. I want at least, 25, 30 pounds at least. That's what I want. The other option is try to get him to lose some of the weight and have him as being a blocking tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying there's not a role for him. He's technically sound. He's a good blocker. There is a place for people that can block in the NFL. There always is. Look at Chris Manhurst on the Giants last year. We re-signed already this year. He is a blocking tight end. He catches 2-3 balls a year. That's it.
Yeah.
I'd almost be kind of curious at this because, like I said, you're going to have to go up or down. You can't play the center at 285, really. Like, that's not going to be a feasible thing, potentially. I mean, who knows? There's occasionally you get some guys who are, smaller guys who somehow just happen to go ahead and figure it out. I mean, you do see that. Like, I remember, a couple of years ago when Linderbaum came out. Remember, he was like 290 at the time, and he was thought to be a smaller guy. 295, I want to say, actually was, I think.
Yeah, in that ballpark.
But he's 314 pounds now. And now he's beasting. Now he's a great center in this league. So, we're going to have to look at him with that kind of glasses going, okay, good sound technical guy, needs to add the weight. Adds the weight. He's got a career potentially in this league probably as a backup. I still don't think he's a great starter, but I think he could be an above average backup with that scenario. Again, a guy also only played center though. So you have to see, can he translate to guard? And that's why I think late day 3 pick for him. Like, this is a project pick. Like, this is a go hang out Eddie Lacy for a while kind of pick.
At the Golden Corral.
At the Golden Corral. I think it's like every time we do a scouting report, we are like mentioning Eddie Lacy at some point now. Like, this guy needs to add weight. Go to Eddie Lacy at the Golden Corral. But like I said, I like a lot of what I see on film on him. I just worry about his size. That's a little light. Like, you could lose like 20 pounds and be a blocking tight end, or you can gain like 30 pounds and be an actual lineman in this league. You decide. And part of that might be based on how his hands are. Like, honestly, I'd probably be talking to him as like, let's go ahead and throw you the ball a couple of times, see what kind of hands you got. If I was there with a workout or a meeting, I want to talk to him about that kind of stuff, and then make my decision from there. Unfortunately, you and I don't have that option. So because of that, he's a fifth round. He's the fifth center overall for us, and he's a late day 3 pick. And to be honest, the 5 we mentioned may be the only people who played center last year who will get drafted. Again, I say that because there's always people that play tackle, move to guards that move to center. Like, that kind of stuff happens all the time. But guys who actually played center last year, not a very high rankings position here. So,
no.
All righty. Looks like y'all are having fun talking about Brazil here in the chat. All of a sudden, Andre comes
Andre's supposed to be here.
Here in Brazil, those who cover the NFL Sanders ready to be the Giants. Even with Wilson and Winston, said it's better to draft Sanders now than to wait the next class. Again, it depends on what you think of Sanders.
Yeah.
What all boils down to. And then Jay says, Brazil. And then Andre goes back at him. He says, you guys talk of the 90s. That's my area of expertise, is what Jay said. Then Jay says, I love Brazil. I love Bella de what was this? Is this a UFC kind of thing here? What is this? Rob, you know this stuff.
Bella de Samba? Is that the
I don't know.
The dance fight?
No, that's capoeira.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. Oh, apparently it's like a Brazilian model thing.
Oh.
Okay, I take it back. There's all kinds of adult things coming onto my screen now. What are you doing, Jay? What is this? Then he says obrigado, which is Brazilian for thank you, by the way. See, you learn something here every day on Two Giant Goofballs. Some things not so good, thanks to Jay, but you do learn a little Brazilian as well. Jay says never fade guys with 2 first names. Always fade guys with 2 hyphenated last names. And then Jay says, if you know, you know. Which, by the way, okay, in the Tampa Bay area, there is, I don't remember the name of the law firm. There's a lawyer's law office. Like, one of the bigger names, I just forget which one it is. There's a lot of big name law firms in the area. There's one that literally just put on there the IYKYK thing. I had no clue what the hell they meant. I've reached that age, I think. I was like, if you, what, I'm like, IYKYK, what the hell is that? And of course, my wife has to be able to say it's if you know, you know. I'm like, oh, that's freaking stupid.
True.
That's stupid. That's stupid. Just say it. It's almost as bad as
YOLO.
when people say it's been a minute. I hate that phrase. A minute is a short amount of time. If it's been a minute, it means it happened last not too long ago. Stop it. Say it's been a while.
You know, that's all relative.
Get off my lawn, goddammit.
That's all relative because you know what? Drew, jump on the treadmill for a minute or wait in front of the microwave for a minute. You tell me that's a short amount of time.
I'm saying. Jay says you're in your 40s. It's just how it goes. Not cool anymore. I am still cool. God damn it. I'm a goofball.
Yeah, hooligan.
Get off my lawn. All righty, guys. That's gonna call it a night for us here. So we will be back again for you guys on Monday. So as always, guys, have a happy, safe weekend there for those of y'all that happen to have weekends off. I feel like I'm in that cool crowd now because I do have weekends off now with my new job the last couple months. It's been kind of nice. But like I said, guys, appreciate you guys for listening and supporting the show as always. We'll see you guys on Monday. We'll have more offensive line talk to go over there with you guys here. So probably next week will probably be offensive line with tackles, the guards, and probably the defensive tackles as well, depending. There's a guest that I want to talk to about coming on for the defensive tackles, a former NFL player who happened to be a defensive tackle. So I want to see if we can get him on the show for that there. So that might move around a little depending on his schedule. Be nice to get some inside information like that. But like I said, we'll be back again Monday either way for you guys. And of course, as always, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite, OnlyFans. What? Who said OnlyFans?
Yeah. You charge too much for that. Your feet aren't that nice.
And Jay says William Joseph on speed dial. No, honestly, the tackle that I'm talking about, I'm gonna keep it. I'll keep it no names. That I want to like put him on the spot like that, or like make it like where he feels bad saying no if he happens to hear this because he does listen to the show. He didn't play for the Giants, so yes, I'll leave it at that. That doesn't narrow it down that much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Again, we'll be back for you guys again Monday. There he goes. Jay, stop it. He's like Ryder Anderson. I said not a Giant.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, Ryder Anderson rarely plays. But he's almost like he's not a Giant, but he's. And he's also retired, by the way. Andre says, I'd like to ask a question, but I'll wait till Monday. No, go for it, Andre. Go for it. You came here all the way from Brazil. You can ask any question you want, man.
He traveled to the
No,
States.
we're talking about a guy from Colorado before. Like, ooh, how cool is that? Here's a guy from Brazil that watches the show on a regular basis. Dude, you ask any question you want. Go for it.
Yeah.
But you got 30 seconds. So we got to get out of here. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm still hungry.
Me too.
Oh, I'm so hungry. He's still waiting. Andre, come on. You got this.
I'm so hungry. Oh,
watch him like signed off after he put that.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Monday, you're going to have to wait till Monday now, Andre. So we'll see you guys on Monday, guys. Appreciate it as always. And as always, Giant fans. Go G-Man! Go G-Man!
I'll just be waiting for your money, G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.